It will be years before that project becomes a reality. If it goes as planned, the journey to Proxima b will take about...
The terrestrial planet orbiting Proxima Centauri is the nearest exoplanet we will ever found because it's the nearest star to the...
Something has just crossed into our solar system, and the James Webb Space Telescope caught a glimpse that no one can explain. Right then, what had been theory turned into terrifying reality. The James Webb Space Telescope has delivered its fair share of extraordinary images. Galaxies bent by gravity, stars being born, planets with carbonature. Nothing prepared scientists for what they witnessed gliding silently through the asteroid belt. It wasn't noise. It wasn't background interference. It was deliberate, and it crossed between Mars and Jupiter with a kind of quiet authority that unsettled even the seasoned astronomers. This began, as these things often do, with a flicker, a shimmer that shouldn't have been there. JWST, orbiting nearly 1 million miles from Earth at the second Lagrange point, was scanning a segment of the asteroid belt. Routine, even mundane. A survey meant to catalog the composition of ancient rocks, icy fragments, and planetary leftovers. But buried in that routine was something but ordinary. The object was fast, not unusually fast, unnaturally fast. It shimmered, pulsed, and radiated with a light that wasn't reflected. It was emitting something. Deep, structured luminescence, not heat, not radiation as we know it. Webb's NIRCam didn't just catch it, it tracked it. And that's when things began to unravel. It moved like nothing we've seen before. This wasn't tumbling space junk or an out-of-orbit satellite. It glided with precision. Its path was not straight. It was curved, smooth, adaptive, like it had eyes, like it knew what it was navigating through. As it emerged from the inner edge of the asteroid belt and neared Vesta, one of the belt's largest residents, it did something that no rock, no comet, no known spacecraft ever has. It stopped. Not just slowed, it hovered, steady, centered, and slowly rotating. Not tumbling, controlled, purposeful, like it was scanning or waiting. That was when scientists on Earth redirected every eye they had in the sky. Ground telescopes, orbital arrays, but none of them could match the clarity of Webb's instruments. And what JWST was seeing didn't make sense. The object's infrared signature defied classification. Its temperature readings were too high. Its spectral data revealed materials that didn't belong. Compounds resembling synthetic polymers, along with emissions in microwave bands that shouldn't be there. Not in a natural object, not in anything drifting casually through space. It was emitting pulses, not radiation. Pulses, structured, layered, and tonal. Frequencies nested within frequency, almost musical. Not entirely regular, but rhythmic enough to trigger algorithms trained to detect artificiality. Signals that were not random. Signals with intention. The object adjusted course again, veering close to Mars' orbital path before ascending up and away from the ecliptic plane. That alone was a red flag. Every major planet orbits on that same flat plane. To move above it, to escape it, requires energy, a propulsion system, an engine. But there were no rockets, no plumes, no chemical trail. Just a burst of light from the rear of the object, faint and contained, but sharp. That burst had no thermal signature, no heat, no mass dispersion. It was a propulsion method we've never seen, not even in theory. And then it was gone, accelerating into the darkness, passing Saturn's orbit, disappearing into a trajectory that no natural object would ever follow. It wasn't escaping the sun's gravity. It was navigating, with intention. JWST could no longer follow. Its instruments weren't designed for targets that moved like that. Tracking systems were manually recalibrated, pushed to their operational limits. But eventually, the object moved too far, too fast, at too sharp an angle. We lost it. Before it vanished, though, the instruments recorded one last detail. A light burst, not random, not reactive, but timed, directed. It was as if the object was marking the end of its observation window, leaving a final signature, a whisper of power, just enough to remind us it had been there, and that it had seen us too. What followed in the scientific community was something beyond speculation, a rupture, a crack in the way we viewed our solar system for decades. The asteroid belt was never meant to be interesting. It was ancient debris, chaotic but predictable, mapped, understood. Now, not so much. We had something enter our backyard, our own planetary neighborhood, without warning, without detection, and without leaving a trace other than what JWST barely managed to capture. That object didn't follow orbital dynamics. It followed its own rules, and its rules seemed intelligent. Scientists began reanalyzing old data, ancient telescope logs. Spikes, glimmers, anomalies previously dismissed as noise were suddenly worth revisiting. Had this happened before? Were there others like it, faster, darker, smarter, slipping through unnoticed because we weren't looking the right way? And if so, who or what was piloting them? The materials detected from the object didn't match asteroid geology. Not metal-rich, not icy. Layered compounds, synthetic in structure. Lattices that didn't form naturally, not even in the most extreme planetary conditions. It wasn't made, it was engineered. But by what? It had no tail, no debris trail, no sign of outgassing. Comets shed material as they warm near the sun. This thing remained sealed, clean, controlled. It didn't react to its environment. It moved through it like it belonged there. Its course through the asteroid belt was not the path of least resistance. It weaved, avoiding clusters of rock as if it could see them. It paused when it approached mass. It reacted like a ship, not an object. And those pulses, the ones JWST barely picked up, had harmonics, deep, intricate structures hidden in the layers. Not random, not thermal, patterned, designed. Could those emissions have been a signal? Not for us, necessarily, but for something or someone. Were we eavesdropping on a conversation between things we don't even recognize as technology? Speculation erupted. Was this an interstellar visitor? A probe from another system? A relic drifting with purpose from a civilization we've never seen? And if it was watching us, was it the first or just the first we caught? Unlike Oumuamua, this wasn't tumbling. It wasn't irregular. It didn't appear by chance. It entered with precision, followed a deliberate path, and exited without a misstep. Some theorized it could be a scout, a reconnaissance platform, not here to land, not here to communicate, just to observe. Site announced, unharmed, unreachable. The idea that it chose the asteroid belt as its flight corridor, that it drifted through one of the most collision-prone zones of the solar system without a scratch, was deeply unsettling. It didn't deflect. It didn't avoid the last second. It simply knew the route, as if it had been here before, maybe many times, maybe always. For years, JWST has been our eye into the deep past of the universe, galaxies forming, stars exploding. But in this moment, it became something else. It became a witness, a silent observer to something that shouldn't have happened, something that challenged every assumption about what exists inside our own solar system. It didn't just record a light signature. It recorded a message, not in words, not in language, but in motion, in silence, in presence. Scientists from every field, astronomy, propulsion, signal analysis, and material science have descended on the data. Every fluctuation, every emission, every course adjustment. It's being scrutinized with intensity usually reserved for black hole discoveries or habitable exoplanets. This wasn't a cosmic event. It was a visitation. And while no threat was ever posed, no weapon, no contact, no interference, what it left behind was far more profound than a warning. It left a question. Who built it? And if they sent it here, what were they looking for? What's more haunting isn't the possibility of first contact, or even the suggestion that we've been under quiet surveillance. What's most disquieting is the realization that this object may not have cared about us at all, that we were not the reason for its journey, that we were incidental, bystanders. Because if it wasn't watching us, if it wasn't signaling to us, if it wasn't scanning for us, then what else was it here to find? The asteroid belt has always been a graveyard of failed planets, a zone of stagnation. But maybe that's not what it is at all. Maybe it's a thoroughfare, a hidden path, a border crossing. And now we've seen something cross it. The silver flash, the spectral curve, the sudden acceleration, the unnatural silence. These weren't the signs of discovery. They were signs of presence. And JWST, our most advanced sentinel, was lucky enough to be looking in the right direction. For now, The object is gone. The window is closed. The trail has vanished into the darkness. But the data remains. The footage, the thermal maps, the burst of propulsion that no one can explain. This wasn't an asteroid. It wasn't a comet. It wasn't a ship, at least, not in any traditional sense. It was a question, traveling at speed, through a region of space we thought we understood. And it didn't stop to answer. It just made sure we saw. Some argued it was a coincidence, that we just happened to catch something exotic, a one-off, a random fragment of a larger phenomenon we'll never see again. But the numbers don't lie. The precision of its movement, the consistency of its emissions, the total absence of chaos in a region defined by it. That wasn't a coincidence. That was control. Others suggested it might not be the first, just the first we noticed. The first to be illuminated by the right lens, at the right time, from the right distance. If that's true, then it's already too late to ask whether it came for us. The only question now is how often it has passed by. How many times we've been overlooked by something that never needed to make itself known. The object left no trail, no signature we could trace, but it left a presence, a haunting stillness in the wake of its disappearance, like a question that doesn't need an answer, like a whisper in a room that's already been emptied. Webb turned its focus elsewhere, but the scar it left on our understanding of local space won't fade. Something came through the asteroid belt, something that wasn't noise, something that wasn't ours. And for the briefest moment the universe looked back, it saw us, passed silently, and vanished into the dark. The information presented in this video is based on available insights and may include elements of interpretation, speculation, or unverified sources. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.